it's very interesting for me to just watch the process. Like when I first had stayed with some of these anglers, I got a little overwhelmed because they're like getting up at like 3 a.m. They're going to 6 different boat ramps in the day. They're coming in at 10 o'clock at night, crashing and doing the same thing like 3 or 4 days in a row. And then you have 2 days of tournaments. And that amount of effort, like, you don't realize how much effort people put into ending up being one of the people that wins that. Like, it is not, I just looked at some maps and went out and caught fish. I mean, there is so much blood, sweat, and tears and preparation and hard work that goes into that.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your fearless host, Angie Scott.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. So I'm super excited. It's been a while since I've been able to do an in-person interview, and we're actually sitting on the pontoon boat, socially distancing, but I'm super excited. It just happened to work out that Kate Field was driving through Nashville, and I reached out as like, I've been wanting to have you on the show. Are you available tomorrow? Well, actually, I'm going to be in Nashville.
I know. It was perfect.
I'm like, well, swing by.
It was meant to be.
That's so awesome. I love when things are meant to be when they just work out.
It is, and this is a wonderful place. It's like this whole little special houseboat water world community here with like outdoor living rooms and like personal bars and things like that. I love this place.
Don't give away all our secrets.
I could have a pad here.
Yeah. It's an awesome.
If the slip comes open, you just give me a call.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because there might be a slip coming open soon. One of the ladies got her houseboat for sale, and rumor is
for sale and a slip.
Yeah, you could buy it.
That's just perfect.
But the rumor is somebody's got their eye on it, and if they buy it, they're going to take it over to Center Hill Lake, and so that will free up the slip. But but you might get in a bidding war.
I like this idea
for the boat, though.
Yeah. I want to have like little things everywhere, like across the U.S.
There you go.
Yeah,
that
like little crash areas.
Yeah,
so
you should
Percy Priest houseboat. I could do it.
You could start like an Airbnb empire.
My own Airbnb. Just for me.
Kate's.
I don't want that responsibility.
Kate's B&B.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to Nashville. This is your first time in Nashville.
Yes.
First time on Percy Priest.
Yes.
Which is
I'm sort of sad I didn't bring my pole out of my car.
Well, I got one over here.
Because I need to do my day of fishing.
Ooh, okay. Well, that was going to be one of my questions. We'll get into that, but I was going to ask, like, what constitutes a day? I mean, is there a time limit that you have to fish, or it's just throw it in the water?
I just gotta go do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get that.
Okay.
We'll make that happen for you.
All right. You never know. I might get a monster.
You could. Probably not. But Percy Priest is
tough.
Positive. Oh, yeah, that's right. We were just talking about G-Man and the PMA, the positive mental attitude, and how important that is.
And how I didn't know what that was. Or who G-Man was. Sorry, G-Man.
But now you know.
Yes. Yeah. I've learned the error of my ways.
He is so funny too. Love him. So yeah, we'll throw I've got a Flappy Daddy on there. I don't know if you're familiar with
I have no idea what that is.
Gambler Flappy Daddy, and it's been producing for me. So you never know.
We'll see. Texas you just said I wasn't going to catch anything.
I know, but Percy Priest is tough. So it's
pretty much every water I fish is tough, Angie.
Well, then you're in your element here.
I will. It'll be perfect.
So you drove from Ohio? Is that where you left
today?
Today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been on like this epic.
I don't know, this quixotic adventure, chasing windmills across America called kayak tournaments. Yeah. No, I've got family in Columbus. My sister and her family are there. And honestly, I had never been to her house.
Really?
This is how much of a hermit I've been. She's been there 14 years. And
wow.
that was the first time I've been to my sister's house.
So
I'm sorry if that sounds like the most dysfunctional relationship in the world. Sorry, Julie.
Happens.
But it just, my own physical...
Time flies.
And I
busy
have issues, and it was just too much. But
right.
This was a good chance to get out and see her and not spend my birthday alone and depressed, be with family.
So
and
it sounds like you've definitely, with this whole pandemic that's going on and, it's negatively affected a lot of people, but you kind of just got to make the best of it. And it sounds like you've really pivoted and, you're now able to get out and experience all these adventures.
It really, for me, I mean, the difference was works because I'm still working full time.
Right.
And, our office, no one can really, it's a little bit optional for some people to go back. But, for the most part, just the way it is with COVID, it's work from home. There's no specific ETA on return to office. And, when I went when COVID first happened, I actually moved to southern Utah, stay with my parents, because it was getting sort of weird, like no toilet paper, the groceries were wiped out. I heard rumors of gas shortages. I'm like, my parents are 78, one's almost 78, so they're older, and I just got really worried about, if something happens, how am I even going to get down there? And I didn't like the idea of just being cooped up by myself and if something happens. So I moved down there. And that sort of started this whole idea for me of like, why do I have to be, I have my own home, but why do I have to be there?
Right. Yeah.
If I'm logging in and I'm working, does it matter where I'm logging in from? So I worked down there for a number of months, and then when I went to Kentucky Lake and that tournament opened up, I drove out to Kentucky Lake, did that, and then I drove 37 hours in a 48-hour period to get back home in time to go to work. And I drove Saturday and Sunday to get back. Or no, was it? No, it was Monday and Tuesday because we got done with the thing. So it was a Monday and Tuesday, and I worked Wednesday. By Friday I think I was there for like a week. I was like, I can't do this. I feel like I'm in solitary confinement in a house prison. And no disrespect to my neighbors in Utah, but I'm not Mormon. Most of where I live are, and that's fine. But it's very, when you aren't, it's a different experience in Utah. You're just not part of all the things that happen within the church and the different ward stuff. So was always having, my neighbors are really nice, but you really don't have a lot of people to talk to. And I just felt like I was in house prison and solitary confinement. And I'm like, why did I drive all the way here just to work? Why didn't I just stay somewhere else? And so that's where I decided to take the leap. And I came up with a wild plan that I still am sort of planning. I haven't really figured everything out, but I know that I wanted to travel. I didn't want to, my camper's too old. It doesn't have any air conditioning. It's from 1968. My truck's 20 something years old. Gets 7 miles a gallon. I'm like, this isn't going to work going to some of these places that are really hot and humid. And I just sort of left with an idea of places I was going to go and some tournaments and just let it evolve and see what happens. And that was a big risk. Like pack up some clothes and just throw it in my car and go, and not sure when I'm going to be back or where I'm going to end up going. It's a little crazy, but I'm really enjoying it. And
awesome.
My trip, it keeps evolving and expanding.
Which that's perfect.
And everybody says, well, that's a really long way. And to me, like, it's relative because I'm coming already from a really long way. So to me, okay, yeah, driving 10
Right.
hours or driving whatever, that's seems far, but that's not in the scheme of things, not as far. And in this over the winter in Utah, I wanted to still kayak fish, doing like my 250 days.
Mhm.
Like every weekend, I would work, and then every weekend I drive south 5 to 6 hours,
Oh,
and
wow.
then go fish, and then drive back. So like, I'm willing to put in the miles and the work
Right.
to do it and to try and experience it as best I can. But, you know, maybe talk to me later when I'm sick of driving. But for now, I'm having a blast because it's all stuff I've never seen. You know, so it's like this constant new adventure. I guess if you'd seen it a bunch of times, maybe it's boring. But for me, I'm just like, they're like, it's just corn. I'm like, no, but it's corn that I haven't seen yet, you know?
And think of the alternative, sitting at home
Yeah.
by yourself.
Yeah,
in
that's
solitary
really...
confinement. I would much rather choose a day of driving over that.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Any day. So that's awesome. Well, one thing I wanted to talk about. So like I mentioned, you left from Ohio today, and you had kind of a crazy experience on your way here.
I had, and yeah, so about an hour and a half or so out. The road was really rough. Just, I don't know, just they were doing construction or whatever. And I looked back and I just saw in my rearview mirror that maybe some of my ties had loosened up a little bit, not a lot. So I pulled into the first rest stop that I found, and I'm a SUV pulling a little cargo trailer with this giant kayak on top, and parked in with the semis to adjust the straps. And so I'm on the kayak just adjusting the straps and retying everything, just making sure everything's secure for the load and balanced and all that. And this guy comes out from around the truck, and like a muscly dude with short wife beater, sort of a Vin Diesel kind of muscly kind of look, bald, like seriously, and with sunglasses. And he comes up to the front of my car, and I just had that gut feeling like, this is bad. Like, this is bad. Nobody really knows where I am. And so I went to my car and opened my door, and I had my door between him and
which is
me.
Good that's the position you were in at that point.
Very trying to sort of protect myself. And he pulls out this flashlight, and he's like, you know, like something my flashlight. And then he goes, do you want to see my taser? And the flashlight is an actual taser, and he sets it off, and it's like this arc of like taser lightning or whatever on the end of that flashlight. And he's like 6 feet from me and just sort of like holding this thing, and it's like making this racket. And I'm just like, what in the, you know, my brain, everything just slowed down, like slow motion.
Yeah.
Like my brain's like, this is really bad. There's a dude here who's going to overpower you with a taser. And I said something to the effect, and it's hard for me to remember exactly what I said, but I said something to the effect of, would you like to check out my pistol? And then I hopped in my car and closed the door, and his eyes got like super big, and then he like took off. And I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm driving. I'm not stopping because I think I just dodged like some weird, creepy, kidnappy, serial rapist Vin Diesel wannabe. So,
yeah.
I mean, that sounds humorous the way I described it, but it really was, it shook me up. And probably for a good couple 100 miles, I was just like, and this is why. To be honest, like, you just never know as a woman when you go around places and boat ramps. When I was on Kentucky Lake, there were people that would cruise by when I was just by myself. And I had that feeling in my gut, like, these guys are not here for just, they're like looking for somebody to victimize.
Yeah, boat ramps can be
and I
creepy.
have a GoPro hat. And so what I've learned to do when something weird happens, if I have my GoPro, I'll just say, GoPro, start recording. And it goes beep. And I did that in Kentucky Lake, and those guys took off in their little car. It was like 3 dudes in a sedan in the middle, and there's no one else at the boat ramp. And they're just like giving me this weird look. And then it's like,
Yeah.
And once you start recording, they're like, oh, wait. You know, it
That's
makes them
smart.
pause for a second.
That's that extra security thing.
Well, you know, at least if they find my GoPro somewhere, they'll know what happened to me. I tried, but
you'd be like, what GoPro do you use? Which version?
I have a 7 that I wear on my head and a 5 that I sometimes put on my kayak, depending how energetic I feel. But I don't know.
So I have the 8, and I'm not a big fan of the 8. It's kind of complicated. The reason why I got it was because you can go Facebook Live with it.
But that's not the easiest either.
No, it's not.
I thought about getting
Wi-Fi,
it for that.
and I would stick with what you got.
Yeah. I might get another 7 at some point, and then I don't know. I'd like to get different angled shots, but I'm pretty surprisingly, despite how exuberant I seem, I'm actually quite self-conscious. So I don't know. Well, I can edit it out, but there's other times I'm just like, oh my God, this is like the worst angle in the world. I look so fat. Oh my gosh. But
well, as a side note, if anyone out there listening is interested in swapping a 7 for an 8 with me, I'd be happy to do that. I was like, why did I get this thing? It's so complicated, but so I don't use it hardly ever now. I use my iPhone all the time, but that would be hard to do doing what you're doing. And it's nice to be able to give those voice commands and have it start recording and all that.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
I talk to my camera, Angie. It's sort of like, it's become like sort of like that Castaway movie where the guy's like Wilson. Talking to Wilson, like my GoPro. Like
you gotta
I edit it out because I'll be like, oh my gosh, GoPro, I just got a fish, and I'm just like, why am I talking?
That's so funny.
Why am I talking like that?
You gotta give it a name, like a boat name or something. I don't know, something. So you've been on the road. So we talked about the crazy experience you had today. Is that the craziest thing that's happened to you so far? Or have you had any other
in this trip? Yeah, pretty much.
Have you had any like maintenance or like breakdowns or anything like that?
Don't jinx
me.
I
don't want to jinx you. Where's the wood?
No, I try to do really good with car maintenance, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, eventually I'm sure I'll have an issue at some point, but
hopefully not.
You know, I've had weird stuff, you know. I've had a lot of weird stuff that I've been involved in. I think if anything, like I can deal with that, dude. Like I knew the right thing to do. And that's because when I was a lot younger, just out of college, I worked with at-risk youth and gang members, basically. And I was in the middle of a lot of attempted murders face to face.
Wow.
You know, people going to shoot each other in the face and pistol whipping and just some really brutal violence. And I'm a pretty hyper vigilant about that stuff. So as far as that kind of like, I have a really good red flag when things are going to get really dicey, and I'm pretty good at dealing with that stuff. So, I mean, that helped me, but I think that you have to pay attention to your surroundings when, especially if you're a woman on the road and at boat ramps and things like that. You gotta pay attention. Can't be on your phone checking messages and like chatting, because that's when you get taken advantage of. So
yeah, good
down
advice.
Dark side.
Yeah, exactly.
The fun part of traveling.
But on the plus side, you're enjoying it so far. So do you foresee yourself maybe going like the travel trailer or RV route in the future?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I don't know yet. Like I said, I've got like an older camper and truck. I might go I like those Lance campers a lot. You know, like a truck. The reason I like a truck and a camper is I think it's for, at least in the Southwest and stuff, there's so many places that you can go with just the 4 wheels, and maybe you pull the trailer, a kayak trailer or what, but you know, it's a little easier to get around my neck of the woods versus something where you haul some big 5th wheel or a toy hauler is a little harder.
True.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I've given myself some time, and just see what happens.
Well, you mentioned when we were talking earlier before we got on the mics here that one of the issues you've had is just not having enough gear, or baits and stuff like that. And then now it's hard to find them because there's like shortages everywhere. And if you order them online, you don't really have an address to have them shipped to.
I know.
And this wouldn't really help with that, but like down the road, because I'm actually looking to go the travel trailer route in the winter and do some traveling.
Yeah,
like November, December, January,
Yeah.
like when it's cold here, because I hate the cold.
Yeah.
And I'd love to be able to travel around and interview people on location
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So I had to figure out a mail a solution. And so there's something called virtual mailboxes where you can set your address up to that address. It's actual street address. And they will scan your mail in for you, like scan the envelope so you can see what it is, so you can tell if it's junk or not.
Yeah.
And so if you don't want, you can tell it's junk mail, you just tell them to recycle it. And then if it's something you need to see, then you can have them scan the contents and email it to you. So it's like I say, a virtual P.O. box. And they have these all over the country.
That's interesting.
So
I've
that
never
might
heard
be
of that.
An alternative to look into.
That would be nice.
If you decide.
It doesn't solve I only bought one pack
Exactly.
of Zinkers, but
because you can't have packages shipped there.
Yeah.
But then again, then you need them to forward it somewhere. So that could be.
So I did the other thing though. I went to Omnia fishing when I was in Minnesota. They're in Golden Valley, Minnesota, and I really like them. They really do a nice job with their customers, and they have a different approach. It's really sort of like a shop by lake. So you can do
nice.
fishing reports about the lakes. And if you're going to a new body of water, they might have a report for that and give you an idea of what kind of baits to use for that lake. Because each lake's sort of different, different times of year. And they had told me, if I'm on the road and I know where I'm going to be, which I'd actually have to plan ahead,
right.
and have an address that they could ship it. Like if it was a hotel or something,
Right.
like they could ship ahead and to wherever that is. But
Cool.
that, I'm going to have to get my act together.
Do
for
they
that kind of pre-planning.
have knowledge? Is it just for like Minnesota lakes, or it's anywhere?
Anywhere.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's really cool. I like that.
I filed like, I don't know, 17 or something fishing reports. I'm like, every lake I'm going to go to, I've been filing reports on.
Cool.
So.
I got to look that up. I'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Oh, yeah.
If they have a
it's
website,
a lot of fun.
I'll put that in there.
It's
so
a lot of
awesome.
fun.
All right, so you just had a birthday, and you
hit the
did
big
the
5-0.
big 5-0. And last year you gave yourself a challenge, and we kind of mentioned it earlier, but the 250 days of fishing, and in a year, and you're doing it again this year.
Yes.
Okay. So I kind of follow you on YouTube, so I've kind of seen the journey, but for listeners,
sorry if I made you cry.
Well, I mean, you had a pretty epic finish to that.
It was.
250. Honestly,
it was like
could have
storybook.
been, exactly.
It was like sort of really hardcore, tragic sort of storybook, but it was storybook.
I mean, from day one to the 250th day, what a journey that was.
It was really hard. Honestly, someone wrote like, "You're going to race through this one." I'm like, "No, you don't understand. Like, it's not easy. If you are trying to fish 4 to 5 times a week, there's things that happen that put that off sometimes, whether you're traveling or, there's all kinds. It's hard, or you're just tired and you want to take a break, or you live in a place like I do where it ices over for 5 months or something, so you have to, I would, in the fall and spring, like there were days where I would fish like 14 days in a row.
Wow.
Because there were time in the winter I couldn't necessarily get out. So you have to make you sort of have to like make a bank of time. But for me, it was really, just an incredible journey. Like I can't even believe I am where I am right now. Like if you had told me a year ago when I came up with this crazy idea, I was like sitting at work going, I'm going to just do 250 days and like do rough thing. Oh, that's only like 4 to 5 days a week. I can do that. And like like now I'll just go traps across the US. Like that's about as far as I go. And And then I decide to do it, and then I'm like on my path. But I would have never thought that back then that I would be traveling across America or going to these huge tournaments and any of that. Never, ever would have considered. Like, I was just thinking, like, I just was going to go fish about an hour away and for trout in my kayak. Mm-hmm. and then, you know, try and get better at bass and learn different things. But it really changed for me when I went, you know, I'd already started doing it, but by the time I went to this, the Women's Fishing Federation get together, it was in...
Is that Branson?
It was outside of Branson. Yeah. I love Branson, by the way.
Yeah, I do
just
too.
Telling you, I love Branson.
And it's only like 7 hours for me from here, so...
I love Branson. And there's a lady who loves Branson even more than me because she showed me her tattoo.
Nice.
She had on her back, she had like I Heart Branson on it. I was like, this is a little too much, but this is awesome.
I caught my first trout in Branson.
They have wonderful that we fished on Taneycomo. Mm-hmm. And it was in the middle of a
rock, I think. Yeah. It might have been Taneycomo.
We were going to do Table Rock this year, but just COVID has ruined everything. Yeah. But I really, that event changed my entire life. That's awesome. And it lit me on fire, and I have not gone out. That flame has not gone out. I think that flame has gone like way out of control for me. But, it totally changed my life, Angie. Like you have to understand, like I had not gone anywhere on outside of work. Like I've gone things for work and that's hard, but I hadn't gone anywhere probably for a good 15 years by myself on a trip for myself for anything. And I was so worried when I went there because, you know, I have some physical issues. I wasn't sure how people would receive me. I didn't know much about bass fishing. There's people there that I really looked up to and were so good. And I just was, and I hadn't been around a bunch of women in like forever. So, you know, and I'm just like, is this going to be like everybody, like, you know, it's, a cat fight and everybody draws daggers out and is really, you know, cause sometimes we can be like that a little bit. Right. And, I just was really worried about that. And it was so not that. I learned so much there and everyone was so nice to me. And people are like, we really like you. And I'm like, you like me? Like, you don't know me, right? Why? This is like crazy. But it really opened my eyes that for me, like maybe I have something to offer. And I hadn't really talked about a lot of my stuff in life at all. And when I was there, I met some other gals who had some similar things. And then I realized, like, by me not sharing my life with other people, like, I'm doing a disservice to them and to myself. And I'm doing a disservice to the stuff that I went through, you know? And so that's what I've tried to do is just be very open and try and communicate and be a better person for that. So, but it really changed it. And I've been on a tear trying to learn as much as I can. I mean, when I went there, I had like one rod and now I've got like 6 rods, you know, and I'm learning new techniques and getting better. And I just am excited to see where I go in a year. Yeah. If I can keep this up and, you know,
to look back where you started to where
it's
you're
insane.
At now,
when you look day to day, you're like, whatever, I'm not going. But when you look really back, you're like, wow, I've gone so far.
Yeah,
I've gone so far, and you don't realize it day to day.
And I love what you're doing. I love how transparent you are, and you're just showing the good and the bad and the mistakes and the learning and all of that stuff. It's that we've needed someone like you for women in fishing for so long, and so I just love your YouTube channel and everything you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that because it's a big risk for me to put that out there. The internet is not a nice place. It's a toxic sewage.
Yeah.
I do have pretty good skills at dealing with it, but it's still different. You know, I deal with it for work, but it's different when it's you and you're putting yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I try, but it's, I want to share that because I think this is what I've experienced this year is when I want to go do tournaments and I'll say, hey, I'm going to go do this tournament. And there's some gals I know, I'll say, would you like to come and, you know, come to the tournament or just come hang out? Not any pressure, not like you have to come to the tournament, but listen, like I'm going to be there. I've never been there. I'm going to be there. You're in the area. And I found that by being willing to do that and make that an option, like I feel like it makes it more available for other women to feel more comfortable to try it.
Right.
And not go by yourself. Because it's a lot to go by yourself and just go to some place and you don't know anyone and you don't know where to stay and you don't know everything you don't know.
Right.
But if you can sort of try that for your first time with someone that you trust or a friend, so you're not by yourself, it makes such a big difference because it is scary and overwhelming. You know, I've had my cry in the parking lot moments.
So, first of all, before I ask my next question, I was just going to say I almost went to that event. I was going to go.
Angie.
I know. And the only reason I didn't, I had a conflict. I can't remember. And the scheduling just didn't work out.
Well,
but
whenever they do it, you're going to have to go.
Yeah.
To the next
So I was
one.
planning on going to the next one, but now with COVID and whatnot, we don't know, but
I know.
So, and then I was going to say, so what was your first tournament experience like? Your very first one?
So I dove in really early. I had gotten my kayak, and met a bunch of folks in Kayak Fishing Utah, which is our local group. Mm-hmm. And, I sort of started out in the winter and they said, oh yeah, we do these bass tournaments. And I'm like, okay. And there's these online tournaments. You can do those. And so I dove in head first just to try them, which is sort of what I do. I just go, oh, hey, this sounds like a good idea. Cannonball. And I'll figure it out as I go along. But, so that's how I started. And I love I'm used to be athletic and athlete, and I love that sort of competition. And I had missed that for so long. Mm-hmm. But I was scared my first live tournament. I was just scared that people were going to judge me, like I wasn't going to catch a fish, and people were going to judge me and say how I sucked and all these things. And it was never the case. And actually I caught some fish,
Nice.
I wasn't very good, but I caught some, but I never people were so nice to me. And that's when I realized like, it's not that, at least for me, I haven't experienced that kind of really super judgmental stuff. Or if they do think I suck, then they're at least polite enough not to tell me, they just sort of pat me on the head and let me go off on my little merry way or whatever. But, I know that I'm not like a super amazing tournament angler. I'm just not. Maybe someday I'll get there.
You'll get there.
I'll get there.
Yeah.
But and I think positive about it.
Yeah.
And I think if I work hard, it'll happen. I really do believe that. But I don't feel bad about performances. Like, some people are like trying to get up and win everything. And I know, like, if that happens, like, something happened in the universe, like, it all aligned, and it's, like, the luckiest day of my life. Like, I hit bet max and won. Right. Bingo. Yeah. I don't know that it would be a repeatable thing, but I just have some different goals. Like, I want to get, like, the top half. Mm-hmm. Or the top, if I could get, like, the top 30% or the top 40%. Like, I'll work my way there. I want to earn that and make my way.
So do you feel like you're competing against yourself more than
you're always
anything?
Competing against yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Always. Always. Like, I'm my own worst enemy in so many different ways. But Mainly, and honestly, especially like these big tournaments where it's a huge lake. Like Kentucky Lake, there were days where I never saw another kayak angler.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you don't see anyone else. It's sort of this ethereal competition in a way. Like yes, you're competing, but everybody's so nice. It makes it like I am genuinely happy. Like when I go stay with some friends for a kayak tournament, like I love to root them on because I love seeing them do well. Yeah. It makes me so happy to see them do well. Like I just want, like if I do great, but I really want them to like slay the fish and just like pwn the whole tournament in the face and do really well because I love watching that and I love rooting for them. I want them to be successful. And so it's really fun for me to try and support them and be happy for them. Like I may do bad, but like, look how well they did. It's so cool. And they're like, awesome. Oh, I didn't do that. I'm like, no, you did. Like you did like this really cool thing. I can't even believe you did that. That's so cool. And they're like, what are you even talking about? Like, no, you did. You had like these huge fish, you know? That's and awesome. I think sometimes that people get lost in that, like you forget how fun it is. Yeah. You forget how fun it is to catch the fish and how amazing it is that you just went to some place, you had to take on all these hard challenges, the weather didn't, stuff happened with your boat or the weather was crazy or things didn't go the way you planned. It's never like plan A, B, or C ever happens. We were like, a friend of mine, Guillermo's like, it's always plan F. And I'm like, it is plan F. Like you have to basically go out and do plan F on the fly and pwn it in the face and do awesome. And I love seeing people overcome that. And I don't know. I just think that's like the coolest thing.
I love your enthusiasm. And,
can you tell how excited I get?
I can. And I think it's
a little weird.
No, it's awesome. I love it. And I think that's what people are drawn to too.
But I love watching my friends who I know are really good anglers. I love watching them succeed. I just love watching that. I just think it's the coolest thing. And I learn from, watching what they do, and I can go like, wow, hopefully, like I stayed at this house with all these great anglers. I felt like the little leaguer at an all-star, sleepover. I'm just like, I'm not even in the same galaxy as any of these people. But it was so cool because they were so nice.
It's like such great camaraderie.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Exactly.
So I was watching that podcast you were on, the most recent one, the Paddle and Fin.
With Susie Roloff. Yeah. Susie is so nice.
And I love
her.
Christine was there.
Oh yeah, they're like trying to order pizza, and I'm just
having a good time.
It was so nice.
Christine lost her keys, and then she's flying a drone, and like
I know, like I don't know what's going on. It is. It's sort of that part of it is really fun, but and I enjoy that camaraderie. But I also, it's very interesting for me to just watch the process. Like when I first had stayed with some of these anglers, I got a little overwhelmed because they're like getting up at like 3 a.m. Mm-hmm. They're going to 6 different boat ramps in the day. They're coming in at 10 o'clock at night, crashing and doing the same thing like 3 or 4 days in a row. And then you have 2 days of tournaments. And that amount of effort, like you don't realize how much effort people put into ending up being one of the people that wins that. Like it is not, I just looked at some maps and went out and caught fish. I mean, there is so much blood, sweat, and tears and preparation and hard work that goes into that. And that was really like, I was like, man, I'm like gonna turn 50. I need to like take a nap. Like I'm not getting enough sleep, people are snoring, whatever, and you just it's a lot of stuff to overcome, but it's amazing the amount of work that goes into it, and I just have like the most respect for them. And it was a good eye-opening for me of like, okay, I think I'm cranking it to 11. I gotta like crank it to like 12. And I don't know if I can actually physically do that, but for me, maybe what I need to do is figure out a way that I can do it for me. I can't compete and do what somebody who's 30 or something or 20 something can do. I'm older. You know, I'm going to figure out what I can do for me to be the best I can be.
Yeah.
But it's incredible the amount of work that goes into that.
That's crazy. Yeah, I had no idea. And then on top of that, some of them are producing YouTube videos and doing all these social media posts, and you're juggling all that stuff too.
It's
and
a lot.
You're working.
I know. What the heck?
Crazy.
What the heck, Kate? When do I sleep?
I know. Wow, that's awesome though.
I have fun though. The YouTube stuff, like, honestly, like, I do it for me, but I really hope that it helps. I really want it to help other ladies like me that want to do that. And see, like, you can't, that if you dream it and work hard at it, like, you could do it. You can do it. It's just, it takes a lot of work to get there. It's not something you can just snap your fingers on.
Right. Well, you've got to get back on the road and you're trying to get to Memphis tonight,
Somewhere close to that, and then Texas tomorrow.
Texas. What part of Texas?
Fort Worth.
And that's kind of Dallas area.
Yeah. I have never been there.
I've driven to Houston. I've driven to Houston from here in a day. But not that area, so I don't know. It's
gonna be great, and I'm gonna hang out with some friends, and I'm staying with my friend Cher. A bunch of us are gonna go fish.
Nice.
And then I'm driving back up to Pennsylvania in the first part of August for the Susquehanna River, the Hobie BOS.
Cool.
There's a tournament there. And then a week later is a tournament on the Delta in California, and I'm going to drive.
Holy cow.
I'm going to drive to it, and
Nice.
I'll be in California for a little while. And after that, I don't know.
It's a lot of podcasts to listen to there.
There is. There's a lot of drive time there, but
listen to the Woman Angler and Adventure.
I will. I will. Thank you so much, Angie.
Thank you, and we got to get your one of your days in here before you leave.
I know. So. I need to catch something.
So
well, at least need to get my line in the water and try.
Yep, we'll give that a shot quick.
I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I'm going to share your YouTube channel and your Instagram in the show notes for this episode, which is going to be at thewomanangler.com/142, if I remember correctly. I think we just put out 141 this last week. So
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a blast. And thank you everyone for listening to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. And I hope
Thank you everybody.
Hope you tune in next week. See ya.
Yeah. Bye-bye.